we want to say, after the holidays have come to an end, and I hope everybody had a great time of celebration, a great time of reflection, a great time of understanding what their new agenda is going to be as we move into a new year. I want to say welcome. Welcome to House Calls with your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards. Now, it's January 2nd, and we started a new year, but I want to concentrate on something based on, again, some of the observance that I saw over the holidays, some of the things that I was engaged in, and just want to say to everybody as we move forward, are we becoming a little less uh, collective in our community, in our families, in our interactions with other people, or are we moving into silos? And one of the things that I really want to concentrate on is yesterday was the end of Kwanzaa. And we know that during this holiday we have the Christmas, we have Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, and then we move into the New Year celebration. But Kwanzaa takes place for 7 days, and it starts on the 26th of December and ends on the 1st of January. And I want to kind of talk about those principles because I believe that those principles uh, have sort of been watered down a little bit. And why am I saying that? I do a lot of observations, I do a lot of social media navigating, I look for programs that are going on, and I recall, but I have to make this statement first. I do recall that I come from a different generation of people, and I come from a different mindset in some perspectives. But I also believe that some things are put in place for the continued success of those who come after us. Not saying that you have to do it the way that it was done when I was younger. You have to do it a way that you stand on the foundation of it. And like I said, as we enter into a season now of reflection and renewal, we know people are going to be making New Year's resolutions. Some of you made them. Some of you are on your way to the gym right now. And how long is that going to last? Some of you got up this morning and took a brisk walk, or you did a little Pilates or something like that in your house. But is that really where you need to be rebooted, renewed? Have some reflection on what do you want to do. And so, why do I want to talk about the seven principles of Kwanzaa? And I want people to understand that as we migrate into different categories of life now, some things have been diluted for the sake of trying to be inclusive. And so we have to realize that people have gone away because people are so busy and so inundated with their own ideas and their own situations, and they're running so rapid that sometimes they forget to stop and to have some type of connection to what's really important to them. And so, again, why am I concentrating on Kwanzaa? Because I think that when Dr. Malanga Karana, gosh, I'm messed up talking about the man, Dr. Malana Karanga, yes. When Dr. Karanga introduced these Pan African principles to the community in the 60s, I think that what he did is he wanted us to have the ideas that represent for ourselves and our community. But I think that a lot of us have gone away from that. And I'm going to use some examples. And if you know the 7 days, I'm going to give them to you in the form of which, not the Pan African word form, but I'm going to give you the days that initiate each day. And I'm going to give you something that collectively can give you an opportunity to reflect on what you think about them and if you're a part of it. If you're a part of these principles, right? Not saying that everybody's going away from them, but are you a part of these principles? Are you practicing these principles? Are the words that you use on a daily basis collective in the agreement for other people to thrive also, or are you operating out of a silo? And so when we talk about the one question that I want to really pose to those who may listen is that have we as a society moved so far away from these principles that they no longer guide our collective spirits? Have we? Uh, that's the question I want to ask. But again, what you're doing, you're listening to House Calls with Dr. Rory T. It was my first session in the year of 2025. And we are going to start this day with asking the question as we move forward, as we sat around on the holidays getting ready for us moving our agenda to the next phase. How inclusive were we in these principles or even in our own values and morals? What are we doing collectively to see if we are aligned with what we say in our daily conversation? So let's talk about those particular principles, right? So the first one is unity, right? So when we talk about unity, it's really about creating stronger connections across our circles, across our communities, across our places of which we provide our most valuable resources. So when we talk about unity, are we looking at those people who may be in our circles of influence, the people who we associate with in our social organizations, in our fraternal organizations, in our church organizations, in our work organizations? Are we in positions to look for those individuals and say, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way things have been done now. I am going to promote someone to a position of authority because I have that ability? Or are you living in the moment with a title that really doesn't have any power? Are you unifying, or do you want to be the only individual in the room with that title? Unity is one of the greatest things that drives the outcomes for people who have a vision, who have a mission, who have a goal. It's unity. It's getting people collectively on the same mindset that are going to move you forward with your agenda. And if you're in a position, have you set up yourself, have you written down names over the holiday about, wow, when I go back to work, I want to really concentrate on this young person, or I really want to concentrate and give some guidance to this individual because I see potential in them. I see potential in them. That's the definition of unity, right? Building stronger connections across our communities. And our communities, like I said, could be anything. It could be a lot of things, but you got to understand, are you building stronger connections across communities? Let's talk about number two, self-determination. That's empowering individual growth. That's building yourself. That's becoming the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Are you building empowering individual self-growth? Are you taking ownership for your self-development? I'm not talking about making a resolution that you're gonna stop doing. The statistics say 85% of people are going to stop their resolutions after 3 weeks. So, are you setting up a plan for your own self empowerment? Are you able to build a foundation for which you can now go out and help other people to develop their individual growth plans? That's what self-determination is really about you building the best you so that you can be the best to everybody else you come in contact with. That's number two. Are you doing that for yourself moving forward? If you want to make a resolution, take these principles and look at these and try to build a plan of advancement for yourself as you move through. Let's talk about number three, collective work and responsibility. That's uplifting together. Everybody in the room doesn't have to be uh, in has doesn't have to owe you anything. When we're uplifting together, as you grow, I grow. As I grow, you grow. As we grow, others grow. As others grow, the community grows. As the community grows, you're more empowered. These are steps. These are things that happen. Uplifting one another, collective work and responsibility. You can't build a house by yourself. You can't build a kingdom by yourself. You need people who are at every level of understanding You need people who are at every level of being able to devise and take that plan and tell you the best way that it's going to be. So if you're not uplifting together, then you're only going to suffer the defaults and the defeats of not being able to operate in a collective work and responsibility mindset. We have to uplift together. Let's go to number 4, cooperative economics, supporting sustainable wealth. Uh, I went to one of my friend's house, and next door to his house uh, is a family that has about 10 people in the house. 10 people. They probably have a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom house if it's the same size as his house. So they do have enough rooms for people to thrive and survive in the house. But the thing is that 2 months ago, one of the couples moved out. They bought their own house, and another couple moved in. So the people are using this house together for cooperative economics. They are taking and supporting sustainable wealth. So they're supporting one another in this venue so that they can all collectively save their money and then move to their own dwelling and then repeat this cycle. See, we can't even do that with giving someone a ride. We can't even do that with giving someone some food. We want to believe if I got it, like the saying says, if I got mine, you get yours. Yeah, but how collectively can you say that you thrive as a group, as an organization, as a church, as a fraternity, as a sorority, as a social organization, if you can't support one another and you collectively build and support sustainable wealth? Cooperative economics. You put your money in so that you grow. And that as you grow, now you become more valuable in this type of economy. In this type of economy, you are valued by your economic sustainability and your economic stability. That's what this is. This is what you need to do. Supporting sustainable wealth. How many of you are thinking about even talking to your family about going forward, let's develop a bank account where we all can deposit money into it, and as we grow, if we come upon situations where emergency comes, we have a fund as a family we can go to. We can't even sit down and have family conversations. We can't even sit down and have family discussions about building sustainable wealth because somebody's going to believe that somebody's going to get more than them. Well, that's not absolutely true. If you all understand what your lane is, you stay in your lane, you'll be great at getting across the finish line in the order that you're supposed to get across the finish line. Let's talk about number 5, purpose. Aligning vision with action. We are some people, and I'm going to say we because I always want to include myself on it. We are some great pontificators. We can tell you the whole story from the beginning to the end, but then when you ask about, okay, you're telling me a problem, you're telling me where's the solution? Well, I haven't thought about that. Why did you put so much effort into the problem that you didn't also put that same amount of energy into the solution? We have to look at aligning our visions with action. We have to say that if I want to build a house, what does my action look like? And they say, the old saying, they say, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So if you're going to build a house, make sure that you understand the dimensions of the house first. Where a room's going to be, put together a blueprint. This is what we're talking about. Put together a blueprint for your life as you move forward. You got to have vision with action. You can't just have a vision and say this is going to come to fruition because who's going to do it for you? What do you think is going to drop out the sky and all of a sudden it's going to be accomplished? No, you got to align your vision with action. And if you got to put people in that place that can make the actions doable, then you have to do that. So that's what you need to do going forward. And number 6, creativity. Innovating for wellness. When I say creativity, I'm talking about your wellness. You got to be very creative. You got to think more like, what does it look like? You got to think big, because if you think big, then you'll have a goal that you can achieve and you can reach when you think big. You got to think differently. You can't just say, well, because I didn't get it, nobody else should get it. I should be the only person that gets it, because what you're not doing is you're not concentrating on the overall goal of everybody else. You got to be a little bit more creative in the way you think. And if you think creatively, you're going to put together a plan that is going to be so much more important for you that uh, you're gonna feel success. And what do we do? How's the feeling of success feel different from the feeling of pain and loss? It's a lot different. So you got to start thinking creative. And the last one is faith. Now you hear what I said is faith. It's not religion. Religion is man-made, and I'm not saying that anybody out there who practices a religion that what you're doing is not right. It is right if it works for you. But you got to have faith. You got to believe that something is bigger out there than us, than you. And you got to have faith. You got to cultivate hope, and you got to cultivate trust. You got to put people around you that you trust. You got to bring people around you who trust you. You got to trust the system. I'm not talking about the system that we live in. You got to trust the system that you develop, that it's going to make sure that what you cultivate is going to be of value to your overall agenda, right? So those were the 7 principles of Kwanzaa that I wanted to highlight. But what are some of the broader initiatives I would think for 2025? We're thinking about doing some community development. We're thinking about organizations. We're thinking about, what I want to do going forward. I want to do something that's going to have a greater impact on the community. Um, you might want to get on something which is really going to affect a lot of people going forward. I really want to let you know a lot of people going forward. So many people are afraid now what's going to happen. What's going to happen to this country in the next few years? So you got to really address health equity. You got to address health equity. You got to advocate for universal access, for wellness. Went to the VA the other day and they asked me, did I want like 10 different shots? I don't want any of them shots. I don't want any of them. They got all kind of different things that are coming out now. Where is all of this stuff coming from? Where is it coming from? Where is it going? What are you forcing me to put into my body? And where's the research? What have you shared with the public about what is these different items that are going on, different concerns, health concerns that are going on? Right? The next one is education reform. Now, some people say, well, people don't want to learn, people don't read, well, there's other ways. You get your kid to sit down and watch a video game and play a video game for 10 hours. That's educational. Education reform means you have to change the way that you teach, the way that people learn. People learn differently. You can't go back and use the same form of teaching that you did 50 years ago. You have to be innovative. You have to change with the times. You have to really be very innovative in the way you do something. So that's one of the other things, broader initiatives for 2025 that you should be looking at trying to put your claws into. Another one is digital inclusion. Ensure technology for access and communication throughout all areas. Don't just allow a certain group of people to have access to the digital inclusion, and don't allow your children just to be subjected to the negative digital inclusion, but also give them an opportunity to be innovators moving forward. These kids are so very well versed in this digital world. Why not put them in a space and a place where they can be the innovators of creating new digital inclusion? And the fourth one is environmental stewardship. You got to promote sustainable life practices, clean energy, things of that nature. And you got to do things like that. So you got to do environmental stewardship because you can't live in a dirty place and expect positive and clean results. People who live in situations that are not healthy will become unhealthy. So you got to do those particular things. And these are some of the things that I'm just talking about that will address where we're going forward. And one of the things I want to say is, what is the psychological effects of things I talked about today? Fragmented self concept. Sometimes if we don't know if we're coming or going, we don't know if we're black or white, we don't know if we tall or short. We want to be so many different things. We got this technology that can make us be a giant if we like to, and that's how we think we're a giant. But in reality, how are we really living? How are we surviving in the world that we have designed for ourselves or allow someone else to design? That's called fragmented self concepts, right? That you believe something that you haven't really achieved yet. Right? What's the motto of the Roy T. Edwards Group? You can't withdraw what you did not deposit. So you have to understand that you self-concept fragmentation is you believe that you deposited more then you can withdraw. You have it. You got to look at that. What's the other one? Imposter syndrome, right? We know about that imposter syndrome. That's what I'm talking about. The posturing, the pontificating, all of this. You're trying to talk to be something that you haven't created yourself to be. These are the psychological effects that's going on in people's brains as we move forward. We have to understand imposter syndrome is real. Listen to people talk. Just listen to people talk, right? You have a person who talks about they're doing so much, they got all this, they have all that, they do all this, and where do they live? They live with their parents. That's imposter syndrome at the best, at its best. So you got to understand that. And then the other thing is code switching. We know about code switching, right? That's when you could be outside and talk to somebody one way and go inside and be a different person. Code switching is a double-edged sword. It's positive in one way because you're able to navigate. You can be in the boardroom or you can be on the streets talking to people, also connect with them. Code switching also psychologically can cause confusion because it can cause you to not truly understand or think that because you've established yourself as somebody that you can go into another environment and still be that person. Code switching is very much like the chameleon effect that you got to be able to navigate and change as you move into it. If it's something you want to do, you do it. If not, then you stay who you are and keep getting the results that you had, right? That's what I'm talking about today, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and have we gone away from them? Are they of even value to us now? Do we think that our kids need to be more grounded in these principles, or do we allow them to create their own principles? Well, that's for you to ask the question. All we got to do is look on the TV and see. All we got to do is look on the TV and see. And I'm not going to bring up some things, but you all have been watching TV and you've seen what has happened at the start of 2025. We need to be more grounded. We need to be more collectively united. We need to share more wealth. We need to share more information. We need to collectively come together to make sure that our communities are safe. Our communities are safe, our communities are thriving, and we don't get involved in other people's situations so that we can concentrate on our own development and our own growth. With that being said, I want to thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the start of 2025, and I definitely like to say Happy New Year to my dear friend Sally. She says she's doing well. Glad to hear that, sister, and thank you very much for joining. And all those other ones who joined today, that didn't leave any messages, you know how we do. This is Dr. Rory T. Edwards, and I am giving you a session of house calls, which we're talking about has the promise of Kwanzaa principles been lost in the shuffle of modern distractions. You please send me an email at rorytedwards1@gmail.com or comment on this post and let me know, have we lost those principles, and do those principles only apply to those of African descent? Or do those principles apply to those who also need to develop a blueprint for their life that's going to design and develop for them a plan of excellence? It's my questions to you. So until we talk again, you all have a wonderful start of your new year, and you have a great day moving forward. Brother James Neely, thank you very much. I'm so glad that you listened, and I hope, like you said, it's super information. I'm glad. I hope somebody grasps it, or if you share it, I want people to understand we have to be more diligent in moving forward. We really have to be more diligent. Okay? Thank you very much. You all stay well, stay blessed, and until we talk again, Ashe.